Hello and welcome to Monday's Agenda. In today's program, we'll be reviewing conduct and content of the constitution process. My guest is National Coordinator of Tanzania Human Rights Defenders Coalition, who is a lawyer and a human rights researcher in Tanzania, Onesmo Olengurumwa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's begin by talking about the process of writing a new constitution. Where are we today?
We can put historically Tanzania for almost 50 years after independence. We've never had a very participatory kind of process whereby we can say that a majority of the people in the country were involved in the constitutional making. You remember in 1961 when we had our independence, of course we had the first constitution where it was only the colonial parliament by then said at Karimjee, then drafted the constitution, came out with the constitution. We had a republic constitution in 1962. We had again in 1964, 65, going towards 1977. All these processes previously we had, people were not involved, were not people-centered kind of constitutional processes. But we are glad that at the moment we have this constitutional process since 2011. It is one of the processes that we can say historically in African countries and the world in general that it has given out a shape that is, we can say it is more participatory and people were involved. You remember the process started from the parliament where the law was enacted in 2011, and then we had the commission, the Constitutional Commission, of course, which was chaired by the Warioba. The constitution went from across the country and met people, interviewed people, collected people's views, and then we have the draft now, which is now debated in the parliament. The draft that contains the views of the people in the country. That's why I say the process from the beginning, as you can say, it was purely a kind of process that everyone was happy because it was very democratic. It, of course, followed all the principles of making the constitution. And you know, one of the major principles when we're making the constitution is involving the people, because the constitution is the good norm, is the mother law in the country. Therefore, people have to say what kind of constitution they want. So, from that beginning to the stage where right now we have the Constitutuen Assembly, I can say the process went very smoothly, and of course all of us were happy that probably at the end of the day we may have a constitution that is people-centered.
What is its function and how does it differ from a normal parliament?
Well, just to start with the way now, because after having now the draft constitution according to the law, the Constitutional Review Act, when the Constitutional Commission, the CRC, completes its work, of course, you all remember that Warioba went to the parliament and tabled it there for the constitution to debate and then finally recommend the constitution for referendum. So right now the process is not as we all expected. You remember there is some sort of confusion here and there. So obviously I'll later come to that, but let me of course speak of the mandate, of the powers and the limitation of the Constitutional Assembly. The Constitutional Assembly is a process within the constitutional making process in Tanzania. As I told you previously that we had a law, that was the first process that we had. Then later on the commission was appointed, and then the commission used almost 2 years going around the country and collect people's views. Then we had the Constitutional Assembly now. The role of the CRC, the commission, was to collect views, analyze, and then draft the constitution. Then coming to the Constitutional Assembly, according to the law, and even according to other practices from all over the world, the Constitutional Assembly has the role of debating the constitution and then finally recommend it to the people. This is how the process has to go. And so the major role of the Constitutional Assembly is to debate the draft constitution according to Tanzania constitutional processes. The role of the Constitutional Assembly is to debate and finally propose the recommended constitution for referendum, because the referendum is the last process that we have in Tanzania. After the Constitutional Assembly, then we have to go for public, for them to vote yes or no. That recommended Constitution.
Okay, let me just stop, just clarify one thing. If the Constitution Review Commission has already, put together aspirations of the, what is there to debate? Because if you go, if you do anything, if you go far away from the draft constitution that's been prepared for by the commission, wouldn't that be going against the people's aspirations, basically?
Yeah, exactly. According to even to the law, the Constitutional Review Act, Article 25, Section 25, it clearly states that the Constitutional Assembly has the role of debating and later on even making constitutional provisions, and later on even developing the House rules and regulation, and not otherwise. So if that's the case, that means I can say that the Constituent Assembly has the role of only amending and of course debating and reshaping the draft constitution. Of course, they don't have that mandate of going to the extent of even of removing or amending constitutional principles such as separation of power. We have the independence for instance, of the judiciaries. We have the so-called the principles of the nations, such as we can call it as it has been put in our constitution right now. For instance, we have the TUN, or what you call it, in such a way. Those are the principles of the constitution, in such a way that the Constituent Assembly has the only role of modifying them and not throwing them away, and even the structure of the union according to Tanzanian setup. One of the basic constitutional basic principle is the constitutional structure, because it's all about the entire document. If you change the constitutional structure right now within the draft constitution, you are entirely going to change you are going to change the entire document. Therefore, if you are told you are going to change the whole document that was submitted by the Constitutional Commission in the Constitutional Assembly, that means you are going to come up with another document that is not a people-centered document. Then in that way, you can say that the Constitutional Assembly is taking a role that obviously it is not its role by at the same time drafting the Constitution and then debating and then proposing it. The role of drafting, it was purely left to the CRC. Then the House has the role of modifying it, debating it, and then later on propose it as it is. Of course, they can do a lot of modification, but only to those minor issues. You cannot, for instance, the House cannot, for instance, decide to say that the Parliament, the member of the Parliament can as well be the members of the judiciary. Of course, according to constitutional principles, they cannot do so, because we have separation of powers. This is one of the constitutional principles. Wherever you go, human rights, for instance, in any constitution all over the world right now, human rights are basic constitutional principles. Therefore, they cannot sit down and decide to put human right or not to put human right in the proposed constitution. That's why I say, with all this, the mandate and the power of the Constitutional Assembly have to be considered in any way when they are discussing, debating the draft constitution. They should remember that we have also other previous processes which involve the commission and the people in the country. Therefore, they should take into consideration that whatever the document that they have in the Constitutional Assembly, of course, it contains people's views, and also they should honor and respect previous processes. Attempting to come up with another document, it is a tantamount like, of course, they are saying the previous processes were null and void. How come that we've used the millions of money collecting people's views? The commission used almost billions of money going around the country, drafting and analyzing and later on tabling that constitution to the House. Then how come that today they want to put away that draft constitution and then come with another document? That one is totally going against the process, violating the rules of constitutional making, and even violating the law itself, the Constitutional Review Act, Section 25, which of course states specifically what the Parliament or the House of the Constitutional Assembly can do at this time.
If that's what you say, if things are as you say, then I mean, in the Constituent Assembly, there's been a lot of criticism of the Constitutional Review Commission. But then, especially when it comes to union, the structure of the union. The draft constitution, the three-tier system that's been recommended, or that's in the draft constitution, where does that come from? Does that come from the commission? Is that an analysis, or does it come from the people?
That's where now we say that people have to be very careful with the way, of course, the members of the Constitutuen Assembly have to be very carefully, and they have to be in the way that they treat this document that has been submitted to them by Warioba and others. Of course, that it is well noted that the commission did not work for themselves. The members of the commission did not. They went for our views. Of course, they went up for 2 years. They went almost all over the country. They collected views in various issues. Of course, not only the structure, the structure of the union, but so many issues. So the draft constitution contains people's views. And then saying that it is to Warioba, of course, views, it is whoever who was in the commission, it is totally wrong, because the commission was entrusted by the people in Tanzania, and of course the president appointed them, and they were given the role of collecting people's views. So the document contains people's views and not Warioba and others' views or what interests, as you can say. So I would like to say that for those who are saying so, maybe it is because of their own interest or political interest, but we all know that whatever is in the draft constitution, it is our views as people of Tanzania. That we want this kind of structure, we want the separation of power, we want a member of parliament not to be appointed as ministers. All these were cryings of people for so long time ago. Now it was a high time for them now to air their views through the commission. I totally disagree with those people who are trying to dispute the statistics, whatever, or the recommendation that are in the draft constitution in a way that the only way they have to dispute, as you can say, is to say that these views or recommendations are not people's views. Of course, in that way, sometimes they may easily win people's attention by trying to go around that way, so that people may feel sympathy with the members of the Constitutional Assembly. Oh, maybe it is Warioba interest that we should have a three-tier structure, or to whatever kind of structure that has been proposed. But I want to assure the people of Tanzania and the others, we have been following this process from the beginning. The commission, which is one of the commission in Tanzania that had never been in place. It was very independent, although there were people of from different backgrounds, politicians, other diplomats, but at the end of the day, they had to sit and agree and put the interests of the country forward. They had to make sure that whatever comes out, it is people's views. They were not interfered. No one, even the president, did not interfere the commission. So it is because of this freedom that the commission had. Today we see for the first time the commission came out with people's views as it is, without being censored, without being so far being manipulated in any way. In that way, those people who are not happy with the way the commission brought those recommendations, they will always find ways to date the commission to whatever kind, to put it in a way that people may see that the work that was drafted by the commission is merely the commission interest and views and whatever. So this is what I can say, that the drafty is drafty that came from the people, and no one else can dispute that drafty apart from the people themselves.
You talked about the autonomy and of the commission, the Constitutional Review Commission.
Yes.
Things are very different in the Constituent Assembly. You have polarization, which you just mentioned. A lot of it is based on the issue of the structure of the union. Yes. If what you're saying is that the Constituent Assembly does not have the mandate to change the structure of the union, then what kind of body? What is there to address? Because there are issues. I mean, there are some issues, but then they need to be addressed at a political platform somewhere. If the Constituent Assembly does not have that mandate, then what do you say?
Well, right now, we have only one document that has to be debated in the House, and this is a draft constitution. If at all they will reach at the point they don't want to proceed with a draft constitution on the account that the proposed structure of the Union lacks majority legitimacy. Of course, the only thing they will do, because it becomes now as one of the contentious issue in the House, becomes like one of the contentious. Now, the only thing to do, like what even other countries they did, is to go back to the people, and of course, for specifically for that particular issue, and ask people: is this what you said? Did you mention the 3-tier, or you mentioned the 2 or 1 or whatever? Then people have to vote for it, or yes or no. If at all people have decided 1-tier system, 1 3-tier, whatever.
So you're saying this issue should be dealt with separately?
If at all, they won't handle. But right now we have the only one option, is to go according to the draft constitution. Work according to the draft. They have to modify the 3-tier that has been proposed by people of Tanzania through the Katiba Commission. That's the option that we have right now. But we can only go to another option if at all they fail to get into compromise. They at the end of the day, if they don't reconcile the two opposing sides in the parliament, that's when now the best option is to go to come back to people and ask them, what kind of structure do you want for the union?
If those are legal limitations that the Constituent Assembly, but do members? I mean, by the looks of it, by the sessions and the content of what they're discussing, I don't think they're on the same page with you on that.
Of course, they are not, because previously I mentioned it previously that the member of parliament should have been before given a very comprehensive class. What are their roles? What are their limitations? What should they be doing there? And if at all this has been done, of course, maybe we could not be where we are today. And this is very straightforward, because they went to the extent of believing that they can totally come out with a different document, which is not so far, because we have to honor the previous processes. We have to respect the previous processes. As I told you, that thinking of coming with a new document, it entails that you need to collect people's views, you need to draft it, and then table it for debate. Then I can ask you, where will the Constituent Assembly have that time to collect people's views? Where will they have the expertise of drafting the draft constitution as what the commission did? Because the commission, if you look at the TOR, they even referred other countries, they consulted some other experts, they did a lot of review and analysis before deciding what kind of structure should be best for our country. Because they were even told, you will only work on the issue of the union by looking the best way to improve it and not otherwise. And this is what they did. And today I wonder that some people are obviously, without even any reasons, saying that the proposed system was intentionally meant to destroy the union, of course, which is not. If you look the way it is, obviously I can say maybe this is the only way where we can have the union, that people of both sides of the union will feel that this is our union. But again, because of the political interest, as I told you that unlike the CRC, the Constituent Assembly is not free, it's not autonomous, it's not independent. But the law even says the members of the Constituent Assembly should be free, should not be interfered, should be forced to. But practically, what we look from the House is that those people are not free. Mm-hmm. The members of Constituent Assembly are there to speak on their party's interest and not their own volition or their own whatever they think that is good for this country. They don't speak. They speak what they've been told inside rooms. So in that way, they are not independent. If they are not independent, they cannot bring us a people-centered constitution.
So what you're saying is the Constituent Assembly is not autonomous.
It's not autonomous. It's not autonomous in any way, because we've seen parties' interests are being pushed in that particular house. People are being even watched. What should they speak?
The Constituent Assembly is made up of members of MPs, members of Parliament.
Yes.
Correct? Mm-hmm. Members of Parliament, by the nature, yes. When you bring members of Parliament from different political parties, yes. There's bound to be some kind of decisions made on party lines.
Okay, that's where now we come to differentiate between the Constituent Assembly and the normal Parliament. These are two different things. When you speak about the Parliament, you are speaking about people's representatives. This is how it is, that an MP is elected, then goes to the Parliament to represent his constituents or her constituencies. But unlike the Constituent Assembly, the Parliament, they only enact ordinary laws, and the President signs. But the Constituent Assembly is quite different. It's a process within the constitutional processes. And whoever can be a member of the Constituent Assembly. In Uganda, for instance, all 230 people, members of the Constituent Assembly in Uganda 1995, were voted in by the people. They were not appointed. Quite different with the process that we have today. That's why he said even the mandate itself of the Constitutional Assembly is also watered down by the process that was used to come out without assembly.
Will that affect the outcome?
Of course, it affects the outcome. Even if it has even affected his mandate, because they have taken the politician almost 85% to be members of that particular house. We have the members of the parliament in Tanzania, and then we have the representative council from Zanzibar. They all made part of that particular house, and then the other 201. If you look at even those 201, majority of them are also politicians. So with that kind of a structure of that particular house itself, waters down that it is role and mandate to do major amendment. Because it's only about, you can look at it from the face of it, they are only thinking about political interest. When they are discussing thinking of the 2015 election. Now you cannot entrust, you cannot, of course, give our powers, whatever that we have, to them, to bring us a constitution that we can say it may survive for 50 or 100 years to come. Because whatever comes in their mind right now is elections, the coming elections. So in that way, that's why we say we don't give them that amount of power for them to do whatever they want to do in that particular house. They will only amend and improve the document that was drafted by the CRC that contains our views. That's the only way. If at all they had to work in that way, today you could even be in a position where we have the recommended draft for only these past days. But previously we made a mistake. We made a mistake, and I say this mistake may cost us. It may cost us for life of deciding to have that house in a way that it contains majority of politicians. That's a mistake that we had. Previously, maybe we had to decide that for fair inclusion, or to create an independent, to create a very free House of Parliament, Constituent Assembly, all these people had to be voted in. And if we did this, today, the so-called Ukawa, Tanzania Kwanza, whatever, could not be there.
Talking about Ukawa,
yeah.
Recent developments in the Constituent Assembly, yeah. We witnessed the walkout of Ukawa. How does that affect the whole, process and the outcome?
It affects.
And then what's the way forward? What is happening now? Are they out? Are they staying out? Or
Well, as I told you, the process has to be very participatory. Making the country constitution is not about making a certain law. Making a country constitution, it has to bring together all people from walks of life, all walks of life. Politicians, religious leaders, non-state actors, NGOs, activists, farmers, all walks of life have to be there and witness the development of that particular document. But now, that part of community is very strong, is huge. Ukawa, of course, Ukawa itself you can say it that if Ukawa is outside the process, you are taking a larger part of the community from the process. Therefore, legally and even socially and morally, you cannot proceed with the process.
First of all, do they have the right to do that, or
they don't have that the power to proceed with the process, because at the end of the day,
so anybody can just walk out if they feel they object to.
Yes, of course, the law is silent. Of course, because they remember that they vote, that they are going to defend whatever they're going to do according to what they were instructed to do.
Exactly.
Now, if at all if at all you are in the house, you see whatever kind of debate that we are doing may not lead you to bring back a people-centered constitution, then you are at liberty to leave away the house. And that one may always leads the way towards reconciliation, and the way it may always leads you to a point where people may need to meet down and reconcile, and rectify where the other group feels that it is wrong to go in that way. So in that way, even if I was there myself, if I see that we are discussing a document that was not tabled, that document that was not tabled in the house by the legal processes, then there's no need of being there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. Of course. And it should be very clear that the Ukawa people have a genuine reasons, and one reason is that the Parliament, the House, the Constitutional Assembly should focus on what has been tabled by the Constitutional Commission. That's a genuine reason.
But walking out is definitely a way of making a statement. Yes. But also to be present and to defend your position on issues. Yes. Isn't that the whole idea of an assembly?
Well, you may defend your issues, your ideas, but remember, as I told you previously, we made a mistake. The House is almost full of politicians, and not only full of politicians from one party. That's the worst of it. Now, you may even stay there, defending your interests, but at the end of the day, you remember that they're going to vote. Look at even the way they structure the committees, the leaders of the committee, majority of them, almost all of them, came from the ruling party.
Some of the opposition party actually refused positions.
Of course, because of the way how it went out around and there. That the 12 elected were all coming from CCM. The exception one who is not, his particular party is not known, Ahmad Rashid. Then the rest, of course, are CCM countries. Then with such kind of structure, with such kind of assembly, at the end of the day, you may sit there, continue debating while you are pushing other people's agenda. So you're becoming a rubber stamp. So what Ukawa does not want is to stay there and witness the ruling party coming out with the constitution that they feel that it is okay for them to maintain the status quo. This is what so far actually made Ukawa to run away. And if you analyze, you can find that there is a logic inside of it. Because what they are discussed right now in the House is about 2 tiers, which is not part of the draft constitution. That is to say, there is another draft that is probably at the end of the day may be tabled for it to be recommended by the House for referendum. That's why I'm saying that doing that, they are totally going against the principles of constitutional making. They are also violating the law that made them to be there.
Now, as a guardian of the principles of the constitution making process, do you think the Speaker needs to do a little bit more in guiding the sessions in accordance with the scope and mandate of the Assembly, or is he powerless to determine what MPs will say?
Well, that's why I also made a mistake. No, the problem with that maybe because it is the first time that we messed up. Of course, it is as if we were not aware of all these outcomes. Even the Speaker, the chairperson, had to be a very neutral person. But now the Speaker is coming again from the same party, where a majority of them do not agree with the draft constitution. In one way or another, as I told you previously, they are not free. You remember the debate about voting a secret ballot or open ballot? It was all about how to monitor those who will go against the party.
You think that was
that was the intention? That if you don't vote for the party, you are in trouble. So where is the autonomy?
And what's the outcome of that?
It's now free. You vote for in a secret ballot or an open ballot. That is how it is. Now you look at such kind of debate. Could not be in one of the. Of course, they are coming because there are people who want to push their agendas through members of the Constitutuen Assembly. And the kind of result that we see from that particular house is because we have people who are not free to deliberate or to debate the draft constitution according to the way they feel that it has to be. They are debating according to the instructions that have been given by their parties. So this is where we've messed up, and I don't know how can we come up away from this problem. Yeah.
Okay, let's move a little bit to talk about the conduct. I mean, recently, as we've witnessed a lot of mudslinging in the sessions. I mean, the whole idea of having an assembly of any sort is to have issues on the table, but it's been personalized to some extent, and you see foul language being used, conduct that even commentators, stakeholders, including the president, spoke on and voiced concern about the conduct, what's happening at the moment.
From the beginning, when the president was opening the house, the assembly, that's when now we started experiencing such kind of bad conduct in the house, in that particular house, just because, as I told you previously, that putting people of different political interests in that particular house to debate such a huge document in the house, that is the main reason of what we see today in that particular house. That in any way, if you have people who have such political interests in that particular house, you will always witness what we are witnessing right now. Then again, it has been also fueled by the president's speech, because president had to be a referee, had to be somebody at the middle, of course, to mediate, of course, to mediate when issues are not at normal. But again, it is very sad. It is very sad that at the day when he was inaugurating the house, he went straight forward and took side. That's when now we can say that the process, I mean, all this kind of misunderstanding here and there, by abusive language, the house, of course, started. And again, it's also the weakness of the chairman. Because if at all you see the chairman of the CRC, of the Constitutuen Assembly, is insulted, you see whatever of people are insulting, a very abusive language, using a very abusive language in the house, then no actions are taken. Then at the end of the day, this is what we see right away from the house.
What do you think needs to be done? What should be done?
Of course, one thing has to be done. People, the members of the Constitutuen Assembly, all of them, should be, of course, told that what are they supposed to do when they are in that particular house. What should they be doing exactly? How should they work on the draft constitution that has been tabled in that particular house? That's the only way where we can, because if at all there are people who believe in people's views and ideas, then there is an open intention of diverting, then obviously the house will never be calm. So the only way is to go back and review their roles, their powers and limitations. What should they do and what should they not do? And if this is done, then at almost 85% the harmony of the house will be restored. If at all the house is brought down and then assessed, what are their roles, limitation, and whatever, then it should also be empowered to be independent. Of course, to discuss he or her feel that it is good to discuss in the house for the sake of my country and not for the sake of my party or my group, whatever. So this is the only way I think that we can at least move ahead from this process and achieve what we previously wanted to achieve. Yeah.
We're running out of time, but I want to touch on this last issue. Yeah. We've just celebrated 50 years anniversary of the union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar. 50 years is a long time. It's a milestone, half a century, a huge milestone for any country, for any two people societies in the world, really. It's something to be proud of as just two people come together. Now we're talking about structure of the union. Yes. It's got issues with it and challenges since the beginning, since its inception, in the 1960s. So what's the way forward? First of all, your review of the union and what's the way forward?
Well, if I look at the way, I'm glad that we have now 50 years of our union. I'm part of the people who are happy with this kind of union, and I believe and I pray that we may keep on having this union 50 and more 100 years to come. But there are a lot of problems in between that are centered in two main issues. This is the structure and what are the union and non-union matters. Of course, if you look historically from the beginning, when the Constitution, when the union was attained in 1964, going to 1965, 1967, 77, the major problems were the structure and what are the union matters, non-union matters. If at all today we reach at the stage and understand that if we sit down and discuss what is the best structure we can have within the Constitution that can address all these issues that has been prevailing almost for a duration of 50 years. That's the only way where we can say that now the Constitution can live some other more 50 years. But if you want to continue with the structure that we have right now, I'm telling you this union may not even last 10 years to come. Because there are a lot of problems in between that needs to be addressed by starting from looking at the structure of the union. When you discuss the structure of your union, that's when now you can discuss what as the union matters and what as non-union matters. Remember, the Articles of Union mentioned 11 union matters. But as time went by, more union matters up to 22 were increased. That's where now the point of dispute, of course, came. That's why now you want to take all of issues, also so many issues, and make them union matters and leave Zanzibar with nothing. And then you can ask yourself, how did it come so? It is because we did not have a well-defined structure. This is semi-unitary, this is semi-federal, because we are not even a unitary state, we are not in a federal union, we are in between. Now, it's either we go to unitary state or go to federal. That's when now you can say our union can live more, can live more than 50 or 100 years to come. This is the only way I can say that the best way for us to go if we want to maintain this union.
And I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. I'd like to thank my guest, who's the National Coordinator of Tanzania Human Rights Defenders Coalition, Olengurumwa. Join me same time, same place for more on the agenda.